Let me say this clearly. If you've been telling yourself, "I'll declutter when I have more time," 2025 is the year you can't afford to delay. Not because your home needs to look picture perfect, but because your health, your peace of mind, and even your independence may depend on it. Studies now show that clutter doesn't just sit quietly in your home. It raises your stress hormones, clouds your memory, and even increases your risk of falls. And here's the shocking truth. The longer we wait, the harder it becomes to let go. In this video, I'll reveal why clutter weighs heavier on seniors than anyone else, why 2025 is the moment to act, and how simple, gentle steps can free not only your space, but your mind and your heart. And I'll also share the story of a woman who kept delaying, until clutter nearly cost her more than she ever expected. Don't skip ahead, and don't leave this video unfinished, because the last part may just be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. Clutter isn't just about messy rooms or crowded closets. For many seniors, it's the quiet stress you feel the moment you walk into your own home. You see the stacks of papers, the piles of clothes, the things you keep telling yourself you'll get to later. And instead of peace, you feel a heaviness, a reminder that the work is never done. What most of us don't realize is that clutter isn't only stealing space. It's stealing calm. Researchers have found that when our homes are full of mess, our bodies release more cortisol, the stress hormone that makes us feel anxious, restless, and tired. It's why so many older women say they lie down at night but can't truly relax. This is why decluttering isn't just about cleaning. It's about health, memory, and even safety. It's about giving ourselves the chance to live lighter and freer, in a season of life when peace should be our greatest treasure. And this brings me to Dorothy. She's 73, a retired nurse, and for years she told herself she'd declutter someday. But little by little, the boxes, the papers, and the saved items piled up, until the stress became heavier than she could bear. Her story will guide us today, because it holds lessons every one of us needs to hear. Dorothy spent most of her life caring for others. As a nurse, she worked long shifts, often putting her patients' needs above her own. At home, she raised 3 children, kept every card they ever gave her, and saved every small memento of the milestones they reached. When she retired, she thought life would finally slow down. She imagined peaceful mornings with her tea, quiet afternoons reading her favorite books, and evenings spent enjoying her garden. But what she didn't notice was how the clutter began to creep in. Old medical journals she thought she might read again someday stacked up in the corner. Boxes of her children's schoolwork, long forgotten, filled her hallway closet. Clothes she no longer wore hung in crowded rows, but she couldn't bring herself to part with them. At first, she told herself, "It's fine. I'll deal with it later." But later never came. And as the years went by, the clutter grew, and so did her stress. Dorothy often found herself lying awake at night, her mind racing not about big life problems, but about the piles of things she needed to sort through. Then one evening, as she hurried to answer the phone, Dorothy tripped over a box she had left near the hallway. Thankfully, she wasn't badly hurt, but the fall shook her. For the first time, she realized that clutter wasn't just an annoyance. It was a risk to her safety, her health, and her peace of mind. And that was the turning point. Dorothy's story is not unusual. It's one many seniors quietly live every day. And it's exactly why waiting to declutter is far more costly than we realize. Here's something we don't say enough. Seniors don't delay decluttering because they're lazy or careless. The reasons run much deeper, and they're tied to both the heart and the mind. First, there's the emotional weight. Every object carries a story. A card from a birthday long ago, a sweater from someone who's no longer here, a souvenir from a family trip. These aren't just things. They feel like pieces of life itself. Letting go can feel like losing part of ourselves, and so we hold on even when the piles grow higher. Second, there's guilt. Many older women I've spoken with tell me they feel guilty about waste. I spent money on that. Someone gave it to me. It's still in good condition. That guilt makes it harder to let go, even when the items are no longer useful. Third, there's decision fatigue. Every drawer, every box, every pile asks a question. Do I keep it? Do I donate it? Do I throw it away? Those choices pile up as quickly as the clutter itself, until our brains feel too tired to keep going. It's why so many people start decluttering full of energy, only to give up halfway through the day, surrounded by more mess than when they began. And finally, there's the belief that it's not urgent. Many seniors think, "I'll do it when I really need to." But here's the truth. Waiting makes it harder. The clutter doesn't shrink, it grows. The energy doesn't increase, it fades. And the decisions don't get easier, they get heavier with time. Dorothy fell into all of these traps. She wasn't careless, she was overwhelmed. She wasn't lazy, she was carrying the weight of decades of memories. And like so many, she thought she had more time. But as she learned, clutter only becomes more costly the longer it's left alone. When we put off decluttering, we often think the cost is just a little more mess, or maybe some frustration when we can't find something. But the truth is, the cost runs much deeper, and it grows heavier with each passing year. Let's start with mental health. Research shows that clutter increases cortisol, the stress hormone. That means the piles of papers on the counter, the clothes crowding the closet, the boxes in the hallway. They don't just take up space. They keep the body in a constant state of tension. And for seniors, that stress doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It steals energy, fuels anxiety, and can even affect memory. Then there's safety. Falls are one of the leading causes of hospital visits for older adults. And too often, clutter is the hidden culprit. A stack of magazines on the floor, a loose rug in the hallway, a box that never got put away. These are small things, but they can cause big accidents. Dorothy learned this firsthand the day she tripped. What she thought was harmless nearly cost her her independence. And finally, there's the quiet erosion of freedom. When clutter piles up, we begin to lose control of our spaces. Rooms become unusable, surfaces disappear, and suddenly, our homes feel like they're controlling us instead of supporting us. For some, the situation becomes so overwhelming that family members step in and make decisions for them. In other words, waiting to declutter can mean losing not just space, but the dignity of making choices for yourself. Dorothy admitted that what scared her most wasn't the clutter itself. It was realizing how powerless she felt in her own home. And she's not alone. For seniors everywhere, the longer we wait, the more clutter steals from our peace, our safety, and our independence. What most people don't realize is that clutter doesn't just overwhelm the eyes. It overwhelms the body. Seniors especially are more vulnerable to the ways clutter quietly harms health. Let's talk about sleep first. Studies from UCLA and Princeton have shown that people who live in cluttered spaces have a harder time falling asleep and staying asleep. Why? Because the brain never feels fully at rest when it sees unfinished tasks everywhere. For older women, that means nights filled with tossing and turning, waking up tired, and carrying exhaustion into the next day. Then there's anxiety. Researchers have found that cluttered homes are strongly linked to higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Over time, elevated cortisol doesn't just make us feel anxious. It weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and even accelerates the aging process. In other words, clutter ages the body in ways we rarely think about. And here's something surprising. Clutter can even affect physical pain. Doctors say stress makes pain feel worse. So when the brain is constantly on alert because of clutter, conditions like arthritis, back pain, or headaches often feel heavier and harder to manage. Dorothy told me she didn't notice the connection at first. But after she cleared just a few areas in her home, the nightstand and the kitchen counter, she started sleeping more soundly. Her blood pressure readings improved, and she even felt a little lighter in her body. She realized the clutter hadn't just been weighing on her home. It had been weighing on her health. That's the truth so many of us miss. Clutter isn't just stuff, stress. And for seniors, stress is more than uncomfortable. It can be dangerous. Here's the reality many of us don't want to face. The longer we wait, the harder decluttering becomes. That's why experts are urging seniors not to delay another year. 2025 must be the turning point. Why now? First, time doesn't make decluttering easier. It makes it harder. Every year adds more items to sort, more memories to carry, and less energy to manage it all. Seniors often tell me, "I'll get to it someday." But the truth is, someday rarely comes. And when it does, it feels overwhelming. Second, health plays a big role. At 60 or 70, a task like clearing a closet may feel tiring but possible. At 75 or 80, that same task may feel exhausting or even impossible without help. The longer we wait, the more likely clutter becomes something we can't tackle on our own. Third, life is unpredictable. A sudden illness, a move to a smaller space, or even the need for family support can make delayed decluttering a heavy burden, not just for us but for our loved ones. I've spoken with many families who struggled to sort through decades of clutter after a parent could no longer manage it. The stress, guilt, and emotional toll often linger for years. Dorothy told me that what finally moved her to act was realizing that each year she delayed, the mountain grew taller. She said, "If I don't do this now, it won't get easier, it will get harder. And I don't want my children to carry the burden I've avoided." That's why 2025 is the year to start. Not because of guilt, not because of pressure, but because the gift of peace, safety, and independence is too important to put off. The sooner we begin, the lighter life feels. One of the most overlooked truths about clutter is that it doesn't just affect us, it affects the people we love most. I've spoken with many families who shared the same painful experience. When a parent or grandparent passed or moved suddenly, they were left with decades of belongings to sort through. What should have been a time of grieving or adjusting instead became weeks of stress, arguments, and guilt over what to keep, donate, or throw away. One daughter told me through tears, "I didn't want to be making decisions about my mother's life through boxes of stuff. I wanted to remember her smile, her hugs, her stories, not feel overwhelmed by her things." That story has stayed with me. Decluttering now is one of the greatest acts of love we can give to our children and grandchildren. It spares them from having to carry the burden we didn't face ourselves. It also gives us the chance to decide, with intention, what truly matters and what legacy we want to leave behind. Dorothy told me she realized this when her son gently asked, "Mom, what will we do with all of this when you can't take care of it anymore?" First, she felt defensive. But later, she admitted, "I don't want my clutter to become their burden." She began decluttering not just for herself, but for her family. And something beautiful happened. Instead of stress, it brought her closer to them. She invited her daughter to go through photo albums together, sharing stories and laughter as they chose which ones to keep. She gifted her granddaughter a piece of jewelry she hadn't worn in years, turning clutter into a cherished memory. Decluttering doesn't just lighten our homes, it lightens the hearts of those we love. It turns potential burden into connection, and potential stress into shared joy. One of the biggest reasons seniors delay decluttering is the fear of overwhelm. The thought of tackling an entire home can feel impossible. But here's the truth. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to start small and start today. Experts recommend beginning with what they call a high-visibility win. That means choosing a space you use every day and that you'll notice immediately once it's clear. For many, this could be the nightstand by your bed, the table where you eat, or the chair that always ends up covered in clothes. By choosing something small but visible, you'll instantly feel lighter. Another easy first step is creating a safety sweep. Walk through your home with fresh eyes and look for hazards. Stacks of magazines in walkways, cords across the floor, broken stools, or expired medication. Removing just a few of these dangers not only clears space but protects your independence and safety. The 15-minute rule is another favorite. Set a timer for 15 minutes, pick one drawer or surface, and clear as much as you can. When the timer goes off, you're done for the day. No guilt, no exhaustion. The key is consistency. Those little bursts of effort add up faster than you think. And here's something powerful. Don't start with sentimental items. Start with the easy stuff, the things you know you don't use, don't need, or don't even like anymore. Every bag of donations or trash you take out gives you momentum and builds your confidence for the harder decisions later. Remember, decluttering isn't about perfection. It's about peace. You don't need to clear the whole house overnight. You just need to take the first gentle step today, and let tomorrow build on it. As we've walked through this together, I hope you've seen that clutter is about so much more than stuff. It affects your peace of mind, your safety, your health, your relationships, and even your ability to enjoy each day. The truth is, 2025 is not the year to keep delaying. Every year we wait, the weight of things grows heavier, not just in our homes but in our hearts. But here's the good news. You don't need to face it all at once. You just need to take one step, one drawer, one corner, one decision at a time. Dorothy's story reminds us of this. She didn't clear her home in a week. She didn't try to be perfect. She simply started small, stayed consistent, and little by little her home and her mind began to feel lighter. And now, I want you to imagine this for yourself. Imagine waking up tomorrow and walking into a space that feels calmer. Imagine finding your glasses without searching, feeling safe walking down the hallway, and breathing easier because your home feels like a place of rest, not stress. That's what decluttering can give you, and it's possible to begin right now. So here's my challenge to you. Before the day ends, choose just one small area. Clear it, breathe, and notice how it feels. That little spark of peace may just be the start of a whole new season of freedom in your life. And if this video spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a sister, or a neighbor who may also feel weighed down by clutter. Together, we can lift each other up and make 2025 the year we finally choose peace over piles. Remember, decluttering isn't about losing things. It's about gaining freedom. Freedom to enjoy your home, your family, and the years ahead with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. And you, my friend, deserve that.